Well, hello friends, Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you guys for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. We got 3 weeks left to rock this funk, to separate the good stuff from the junk. You see what I did there? You see what I did there? This year's been bad. We all know it's been bad. It's COVID. It's been bad for the Cowboys. It's been bad for us. It's been bad for it's just been bad. But what we have to do is we have to pick up the pieces, autopsy the body, and figure out what went wrong with the Dallas Cowboys so we can try and make changes. Now, we had Stephen Jones yesterday talking about, that Mike McCarthy will be coming back. We had Jerry Jones saying, I can't believe this is even a question, that he envisions Mike McCarthy being here for a long time. They've said nice things about Dak Prescott, but they've always said nice things about Dak Prescott, but yet we still haven't gotten this thing done. Now, for the Cowboys, we have to figure out what are the pieces that we can work with. And right now I'm going to focus in on Zeke Elliott, because right now that is where everybody's kind of pointing right now. We were once told that Zeke Elliott was literally Batman and Dak Prescott was Robin. That, Zeke Elliott is the team, the whole offensive stuff, that Dak Prescott's just a bus driver. And and that's fine. That's fine that you believe that or think that, or maybe it might be true. But here's an interesting couple of takes. This year has been a bad year about Zeke Elliott. I've done multiple videos and things on here giving you my perspective. My perspective a lot of times will go through with the numbers. I'm a numbers guy, and people say stats are for losers. But there's certain things that happen consistently. For example, a rookie having a great year, quarterback, the sophomore slump. That doesn't mean that every quarterback's going to have it, but more times than not, you'll see quarterbacks that will have a bad second year. Then the third year, they recover. You could look at Baker Mayfield and say, after the yards he passed like last night, that maybe he's past his sophomore slump and he's getting into gear, because, typically after that sophomore slump, if they don't turn around the next year, usually they're gone. They never get that second contract. And that's one of those things that you can point to with statistics. Another one of those things that I've talked about when we were originally talking about extending Zeke Elliott is the fourth year. Unfortunately for running backs for the most part after the fourth year or a 2,000-yard season are never the same. They just aren't. Their body only has so many hits in there. Now, that's not to say that like a Frank Gore or an Adrian Peterson or a Barry Sanders don't break those norms. They do. There are few and far between, but you don't see too many 30-plus-year-old running backs that are rushing for 1,000 yards. You just don't, and you haven't in the history of football. And in the same way that once a guy gets that 2,000-yard season, they're usually done as far as having those big seasons. And you can look at, say, DeMarco Murray. After DeMarco Murray had that 1,800-yard season for us, he went to Philadelphia, got that stank on him, and he definitely wasn't anywhere near where he was. He had some decent years in Tennessee, but still nothing like that 1,800-yard season. And this is where I was talking about the fourth year. Fourth year is usually the peak of most running backs. After that point, they go downhill. So the question you have to ask, now that we know we've got Zeke Elliott for several more years locked up, is this because of the natural curve, the natural pie chart or graph or whatever you want to call it, of what running backs go? Because you're seeing now people paralleling what happened with Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley 3 years ago was, the guy. All of a sudden he had the knee injury and he just never seemed the same. He went to Atlanta this year, and Todd Gurley is averaging less than Zeke Elliott right now per carry, and literally is a shell of himself. So now the question is that Zeke Elliott? Now, there's a multitude of reasons why I think that he's down. Some of it is Zeke Elliott and Father Time. You naturally only have so many hits in your body. And as you get older, it's harder to recover. That's just a fact. I believe, and this is my own personal belief, I don't have any proof, nobody said anything about it or anything like that. COVID COVID is a mother humper, and it affects people differently. Some people might get a cough. Some people may be asymptomatic. Some people get really sick and die. Others, they say, have nerve damage and lasting, lingering things. I've talked to some people who had COVID 6 months ago that still have some of the symptoms. It is conceivable that Zeke Elliott may have had some nerve damage. That might be why he was fumbling so much early part of the season. Some of it may be respiratory, because another one of those things they say respiratory wise, you can lose like 10% of your lung capacity. Hence you get tired quicker. And I don't know if that has happened with Zeke or not. I don't know. But it's a possibility that you have to take into account that may get better over time, as into another season. Another part of it, of course, is, people will be mad and screaming that, oh my God, Zeke, man, you ain't doing shit. Well, the reality is, some of those times, there is no hole. He's literally having people in the backfield because the offensive line is a mess. You've got Tyron Smith out. You've got, Lyle Collins that never got out of the starting blocks. You got Zach Martin, gone. Travis Frederick, retired. You've had Looney in and out of the lineup, and now you got Tyler Badass has been in and out of the lineup. And you've literally had Terrence Steele, who looked like, he was soft steel, okay, more like aluminum, to, we're shoring up some of the steel, and it's not quite as brittle. It's getting to be a hardened steel now. He's getting better. You've had Connor McGovern in there. You had Connor Williams. We done rotated. We take Zach Martin from guard to tackle and back to guard and back to tackle and then calf it. So the offensive line isn't anywhere near where it should have been. It's playing better the last week against the Bengals, but it was against the Bengals. So when you look at some of the holes or lack thereof, you can't put that on the running back. It's hard to get started when those holes aren't there. However, getting through the holes, you don't see the burst that you used to. So, excuse me, that again is dealing with time. Hold up for a second. I'm about to sneeze. About that. It's kind of funny, or it's not funny. It's one of those things that I swear I've never had. I should have gotten the antibody test and stuff done, but after the Super Bowl, I don't know if you guys remember when I was dealing with the heart palpitations and I fell out literally at the Super Bowl. I got all covered with sweat, had, all kinds of symptoms, some diarrhea from hell and all this stuff. But my blood pressure went to I was having 190 over 160. They did all kinds of tests. They couldn't find it and all. They never took a COVID test. But I swear that I had COVID. And that I still think, because I had kind of for months and months and months, just kind of like this achy headache and, like I said, this little bit of a cough. It's literally been there since April. Since I had that. It could be that, man, I get tired. I get a lot more tired than I used to. That could be, I don't know. It could be some effects from COVID. Because they never did find out why my blood pressure kept spiking, but then all of a sudden it just stopped. But anyway, and you would think with the season that we have with the Cowboys that my blood pressure right now would be through the roof because we stink. But it's back to normal. So it's not that. The other part of the equation that we have to look at for Zeke Elliott is, I always like to describe the Cowboys offense ideally as death by 1,000 cuts. And by that I mean, you don't know where it's coming from. And that's why having CeeDee Lamb and why having Michael Gallup and having, of course, Amari Cooper, Blake Jarwin and Dalton Schultz, that any one of these guys can make a great completion. This is why, Kansas City's offense is so effective. They got so many different weapons, whether it's Kelsick or Tyreek Hill or or Pat Mahomes. They've got, you can't cover everybody. And of course, Zeke Elliott. And then you have to add to this mix Dak Prescott. See, Dak Prescott is the driver of this car. You can have a great sports car, but if nobody knows how to drive it and take it to the limits, it's not going to do anything but look pretty. And here's numbers that kind of back this up. Zeke Elliott needs Dak Prescott as much as Dak Prescott, maybe even more than Dak Prescott needs Zeke Elliott. Zeke Elliott without Dak Prescott is not the same guy. Now, he had the fumbles early in the season. He's kind of taking care of those. But here's some interesting stats. The first 5 games, and there's also one other reason, too, that his numbers are going to be different. He averaged 4.2 yards a game, which wasn't great by his standards. Don't get it twisted. But he was more effective as far as running ball. Again, did fumble more. But since Dak Prescott went out, he's a third of a yard less at 3.79. And you can actually look back and say, well, one of those games he had a great, what game was that? Let's see. Minnesota game, he had a great game because, he averaged 4.9 yards a carry on that one, which was his best, had 103 yards. But when you looked at him when he played against Washington, 32 yards, 3.2. Pittsburgh, 51 yards, 2.83. Philadelphia, 3.32. Washington again, 3.75. Again, if you take out the Minnesota game, that drops even lower than that 3.79. But here's where it's really crazy. This season, in the red zone, when we've been 5 yards or closer with Zeke Elliott, we've had 23 running plays, which have led to 4 touchdowns and picked up 14 yards. Okay? So you got that. 23 times we have been within the 5-yard area, and we have run the ball 23 times to Zeke Elliott, converting 4 touchdowns and 14 yards total. Since Dak has been out, but this is what's even worse, we've only been in the 5-yard line or closer 9 times in the 8 games since Dak Prescott's been gone. Think about that for a second. Think about that. First 5 games, 16 times you're in the within the 5-yard line. Okay, since that time, only 9. Those 9 trips of Zeke Elliott being within the 5-yard line has come up to -3 yards and no touchdowns. So you can see a direct correlation how you need these pieces together to work. Now, I'm going to say that I think Zeke Elliott, with an offseason to recuperate from this, a full offseason schedule, because this year was screwed up because of COVID. I will say the year before was screwed up because of holding out. That he is a guy that needs to get some work in. And I'm talking about real work. I'm talking about getting real workout, like a Walter Payton type off-season workout, have him run some of those mountains and everything else, okay? Or Jerry Rice workout, where he is literally running till he pukes and then running some more and then running some more and truly getting himself in shape. And I think that if he does that, he will be effective, along with having Dak and an offensive line. So when you compare this situation to Todd Gurley, the only thing that changed with the Rams was it was really Todd Gurley. They didn't have the rash of injuries and things like that. It was just he got hurt and everybody else was okay, but his production went down. This one is a collection of all these things. And the final thing that I can also say too is some of this may be the scheme and the design, because Mike McCarthy digs the pass. He loves passing the football. Running the football is more of an afterthought. So you may also be seeing the evolution of the offense bit by bit to where they're looking to be beyond having Zeke Elliott. In some ways, you can kind of look at, say, Seattle, how Seattle's offense, which was originally predicated on beast mode, and Russell Wilson throwing for, 3,400 yards his first 3 years, and being ground control to being an air assault, without the great running back that's a bruising and time of possession controlling running back. So all these factors are going in here. I'm not ready to say Zeke Elliott's done. I'm just ready to say it's all COVID and 2020. All right, y'all. I appreciate you being here. I'm going to go take care of some business. Peace.